I left town for 2 months. Just 60 days. When I came back, there was a mansion sitting on my land. Polished stone, glass walls, fountains, and a wrought iron gate with gold trim. My jaw dropped so hard I thought it hit the gravel. My lot, where I'd planned to build a quiet cabin by the lake, was now a palace, and someone was living in it. At first, I thought there had been a mix-up, a construction error, maybe a wrong address, but when I walked up to the gate, a woman in designer sunglasses strutted out like she owned the world. "Can I help you?" she said, dripping with attitude. "Yeah," I replied. "You can tell me why there's a house on my property." She laughed. "Oh, you must be the previous owner. The HOA authorized a development here. I'm the president, Patricia Hendris. You can take it up with me." That's when my stomach dropped. Patricia, locals called her. HOA Karen, had been infamous for overstepping boundaries. She'd fined people for having bird baths, demanded fees for view, obstruction, and even banned porch. Lights over 40 watts, but this? Building a mansion on someone else's land? It was insanity. I checked my paperwork that night, over and over. My deed, my boundary lines. It was all crystal clear. She'd built her personal dream home smack in the center of my property. The next morning I marched to her door again. "You have 48 hours to get off my land," I said. She sipped her iced latte and smiled. "You'll find that's not possible," she said. "The HOA board approved a community expansion. You should have attended the meetings." Meetings? I was gone for work, and she'd held every vote while I was out of town. No public notice. No consent. Just arrogance and fraud wrapped in a fake smile. That's when I realized I wasn't dealing with a mistake. I was dealing with a power trip. I hired a surveyor, a lawyer, and a drone operator to document everything. The footage was clear. Her mansion sat dead center on my property lines. My lawyer smiled when he saw it. "This isn't just trespassing," he said. "This is theft on a grand scale." I swore then that Patricia Hendris was about to learn exactly how much justice costs when you mess with the wrong man's land. Patricia thought she was untouchable. The HOA board was her personal army. 3 retirees she'd manipulated into believing she was saving the neighborhood from unsightly land misuse. But once I filed the lawsuit, that smug little empire of hers started to crumble. My lawyer, a bulldog named Carter Reeves, didn't waste time. He filed for trespass, fraud, and illegal construction within 72 hours. The moment Patricia got served, she came storming to my place, heels clicking like gunfire. "This is harassment!" she shouted, waving the papers. "You're suing the entire HOA!" "No," I said calmly. "I'm suing the woman who built her mansion on my land." She went pale, but only for a second. Then that cold smirk returned. "You won't win. I have influence. The board, the council, they all support me." Carter grinned when I told him that. "Perfect," he said. "Let's see how supportive they are under oath." Word spread fast. Within a week, the entire neighborhood buzzed with gossip. People whispered about Patricia's secret project, the mysterious overnight permits, and the thousands she supposedly took from HOA funds. It was like watching a queen's court turn against her. Then came the first hearing. Patricia strutted into court like it was a red carpet event. New suit, pearls, and a smirk that screamed arrogance. But Carter shredded her confidence piece by piece. He presented drone footage, satellite images, deed records, and bank transfers that traced HOA funds to her construction company, except that company didn't exist. It was a shell she'd made up to funnel money into her mansion. The judge leaned back, unimpressed. "Mrs. Hendris," he said, "you built this property without permits, on land you do not own, and used HOA funds to do it?" Patricia tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, claiming I'd verbally agreed to the development. Carter produced a recording, Patricia's own, HOA meeting minutes, where she'd admitted, "I was out of town and unlikely to notice." That was the turning point. You could feel the room shift. The board members who'd once praised her sat frozen, realizing they'd been accessories to fraud. When the judge declared a temporary injunction and froze, her assets pending investigation, Patricia's expression finally cracked. She wasn't the queen anymore. She was a defendant, one about to lose everything she'd built. As we left the courtroom, Carter turned to me and said, "She's not just going to lose the house. She's going to lose the whole HOA." After the court hearing, Patricia's world began collapsing. Quietly at first, then like a landslide. The injunction meant her accounts were frozen, construction halted, and the HOA's funds seized for audit. Her mansion, the one that sat like a crown on my land, suddenly turned into a monument of arrogance. I drove by one evening and saw contractors pulling equipment out. Half of them hadn't been paid in weeks. They cursed her name as they packed up. The manicured lawns started to brown, the fountains went dry, and the neighborhood that once feared her now treated her like a ghost. Then came the HOA revolt. Board members gathered outside the community center, waving papers and shouting. Patricia tried to call a meeting to clarify misunderstandings, but no one showed, except a reporter. The headline the next morning read, HOA president accused of land theft and embezzlement. That was the first domino. Soon, every homeowner she'd bullied, every person she'd fined for nonsense like improper mailbox color or visible trash cans, came forward with receipts, emails, and threats she'd sent. Carter's office turned into a command center, flooded with complaints. Patricia tried everything to fight back. She filed motions, played the victim, even claimed I'd entrapped her by not telling her I was returning early. But the evidence was overwhelming. The audit revealed she'd funneled over $600,000 of HOA funds into her mansion. Project. Money meant for maintenance, road repairs, and landscaping. The day her assets were officially seized, I stood at the property line, watching the bank's locks go on the gate. She was inside screaming at the repo crew. "You can't do this! This is my home!" The agent simply handed her the court order. "Not anymore, ma'am." That night, my phone buzzed. Carter had sent a message. "Congratulations. You just won ownership rights back. Full compensation coming after auction." It hit me then. Justice wasn't loud. It was patient. Patricia had bulldozed her way through people's lives for years. And now, everything she built stood on quicksand. But there was one thing left unfinished. The court had ruled in my favor. But I still wanted to face her, to hear her admit what she'd done. So I requested mediation, not because I needed it, but because I wanted her to understand the weight of her downfall. She agreed. And what happened in that room would silence her for good. The mediation room was small and cold, with nothing but a metal table, 2 chairs, and the faint hum of fluorescent lights. Patricia walked in late, her once flawless hair now tangled, designer heels replaced with flats, the arrogance that used to fill the room before she even spoke. Gone. She looked at me with a kind of hollow pride, still pretending to be in control. "So," she said, sitting across from me, "you've ruined my life. Is that what you wanted?" I didn't answer right away. I slid a folder across the table. Photos of her mansion being boarded up, legal documents showing the foreclosure, and the HOA's vote to dissolve under her leadership. "No, Patricia," I said quietly. "You ruined it yourself." She scoffed, tried to put on that old smirk. "You think you've won? You'll never sell that land now. It's tainted by this whole mess." Carter, sitting beside me, leaned forward. "Actually," he said, "the county is compensating my client for unlawful construction and damages, and the HOA's insurance is covering the rest. He's already been paid in full." Her face twisted. "That's impossible." Carter slid another paper forward, the settlement order. "It's over, Patricia." For the first time, she didn't argue. She just stared at the document, lips trembling. "I just wanted to make this place perfect," she muttered. "Everyone was so ungrateful. I built something beautiful." I looked her dead in the eyes. "You built it on someone else's land. You thought you could take whatever you wanted because people were too scared to stop you." The silence that followed was heavy. Patricia finally broke it, not with anger, but with something worse. Denial. "I was trying to help the community," she whispered, more to herself than to us. Carter stood. "The community doesn't need a dictator. It needs boundaries." We left without another word. Outside, the autumn wind swept through the parking lot, and for the first time in months, I felt peace. A few weeks later, the mansion was demolished. My choice. Watching the walls crumble under the wrecking ball was strangely satisfying, like watching a storm finally clear. The land was mine again, clean, quiet, and free. Patricia declared bankruptcy soon after. She lost her cars, her reputation, and her title as HOA president. Rumor has it she moved to another county and joined a different homeowner's board, but this time as a regular member. Justice, I realized, doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just rebuilds. Karen thought she could make her own rules, but justice had other plans. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, drop a comment with what you'd do in my place, and subscribe so you don't miss the next crazy HOA showdown.